You thought it was love. You thought it was real. The way she looked at you, the way she laughed at things you said, the softness in her voice when she whispered your name like a secret, meant only for you. You thought it meant something. Of course you did. You're a man, and men are hardwired to assign meaning to affection. A touch becomes a promise. A smile becomes a future. A moment becomes a story you tell yourself at night. But here's the truth. What felt sacred to you was, to her, just an opening. Not because she's evil, not because she's cruel, but because her instincts are sharper than yours. While you were feeling something, she was calculating something. She was reading your eagerness like a signal, and she was deciding what she could do with it. Women are raised not just to be loved, but to navigate love, to weaponize attention, to test your frame, to sense weakness in how you react when they give, and especially when they pull away. She doesn't need to be conscious of this. It's instinct. And your mistake wasn't falling for her. Your mistake was assuming she fell the same way. Because here's what you missed. There's a difference between connection and leverage. You thought you had the first. She knew she had the second. You thought she saw you. She saw what you could give, not just materially, emotionally, energetically. She saw your hunger for closeness, your thirst for significance, and that, more than your charm or your body or your words, was her opportunity. Because the more a man needs, the more predictable he becomes. And the more predictable he becomes, the easier he is to move, to guide, to bend, to break. She didn't have to lie. That's the dangerous part. She didn't have to promise anything. You filled in all the blanks yourself. That's what men do when they want something to be true more than they want to see what's true. She didn't say she loved you, but she didn't stop you from saying it first. She didn't ask for your time, but she didn't decline when you offered it endlessly. She never said you were hers, but she let you act like you were. And the entire time, you thought your generosity was building a bond. It wasn't. It was building leverage. Hers, not yours. Women don't need to lie to gain control. All they need to do is leave just enough space for you to lie to yourself. That's the art. That's the play. And it's ancient. You assumed presence meant commitment. You assumed sweetness meant safety. You assumed shared moments meant shared depth. But the truth is, a woman can enjoy your presence without respecting your energy. She can laugh, lean in, kiss you like she means it, and still view you as disposable the moment the utility shifts. This isn't cruelty. This is evolutionary precision. Nature did not equip women with brute force. It gave them something better: perception. They feel for openings the way wolves scent blood. She doesn't need to seduce you. You're already seducing yourself with projections of love, loyalty, and intimacy. But none of that was ever confirmed. Not by her, not clearly, not directly, and not because she's scared of honesty, because she doesn't need to speak when you're so willing to narrate her silence for her. This is how a man gets broken. Not by deception, but by investing in a fantasy she never had to sell. You built the illusion. She just let you decorate it. And when she leaves, she takes nothing with her except your energy, your time, and your belief in yourself. The most dangerous thing about the wrong woman isn't her presence. It's how you start to reshape yourself around it. You stop doing what made you grounded. You stop moving like a man who knows who he is. You become careful, available, predictable. Not because she asked you to change, but because somewhere inside, you thought maybe if you give enough, she'll finally see you as enough. And this is where the collapse begins. Not loud, but silent, internal. You start to negotiate with your instincts. You silence your gut. You doubt your boundaries. You tell yourself that strength is patience, that silence is maturity, that waiting is love. But that's not love. That's self-abandonment disguised as emotional intelligence. You used to have direction. Now you have her. You used to move with purpose. Now you wait for her text. You used to own your silence. Now you fill it with overthinking. And all the while, she hasn't changed. She's still herself. Cool, curious, emotionally light. Maybe she still shows up. Maybe she's still sweet. But you feel it. The shift. The absence inside the presence. She sees you bending. And she doesn't respect it. Because deep down, every woman senses what a man has sacrificed for her attention. And the moment she feels he's abandoned his center to orbit hers, she pulls away. Not always physically, but energetically, emotionally, spiritually. You thought the sacrifice would earn you love, but what it bought you was quiet contempt. That's the paradox. The more of yourself you give up to gain her, the less of you there is left for her to want. Because she didn't fall for your need. She fell for your edge. And now, it's gone. You gave her everything, except the one thing she actually respected, your ability to walk away. She didn't reject you because you weren't good enough. She withdrew because you stopped being something to reach for. You stopped being a question. You became an answer. Too fast, too eager, too available. And here's what nobody tells men. Love isn't built on answers. It's built on tension, mystery, and earned intimacy. When you hand over all your presence without pause, without limits, without weight, you become easy to consume and impossible to crave. She used to wonder what you were thinking. Now she knows. She used to feel your silence. Now she feels your desperation. She used to respect your presence. Now it feels constant, overly accessible, predictable. You gave her access before she earned respect. You gave her loyalty before she proved alignment. You offered depth to someone still swimming in the shallow end and expected her not to drown in it. This is the mistake men keep making, confusing availability with strength, believing that openness without discernment is some kind of modern nobility. It's not. It's exposure. It's emotional nudity. And in a world that rewards armor and precision, you walked in unarmed, hoping sincerity would be enough. But she's not wired to lead with mercy. She's wired to respond to gravity. And when your energy loses weight, when your boundaries soften, your identity blurs, she doesn't feel safe. She feels nothing. You think, but I was kind. I was loyal. I didn't lie. I stayed. Yes, but none of that matters if you abandoned your core to offer it. A woman doesn't stay because you're willing to give. She stays because she knows you're willing to leave. If who you are is no longer honored. And until you learn that, you'll keep trying to prove your worth instead of protecting it. There's a moment every man hits, not when she leaves, Not when she replaces you, but when you look in the mirror and can't recognize the man staring back. The posture is weaker. The eyes are duller. The presence, gone. You didn't lose her. You lost your own gravity. And once that collapsed, everything else followed. It wasn't her attention you needed. It was your edge, the inner voice you used to trust, the standards you used to enforce, the calm that didn't need validation to exist. But here's the thing about collapse. It's not the end. It's the signal. Collapse is sacred, because from ruin, clarity is born. You see who you were pretending to be. You see what you were chasing. And for the first time, you don't want her back. You want you back. Not the old you, but the one who's no longer starving for softness. The one who doesn't kneel just to be seen. The one who knows that peace isn't found in her eyes. It's forged in your stillness. Let her misunderstand you. Let her say you changed. Let her call you cold. That's fine. Because the truth is, she wasn't drawn to your warmth. She was drawn to your fire. And fire doesn't apologize for burning. You don't rebuild by texting her. You don't rebuild by proving your worth. You rebuild by remembering your silence. The one that came before her. The one she noticed before she knew your name. Your power isn't in how much you feel. It's in how little you let those feelings shake your position. The world tells men to open up, to soften, to confess. But if you open your soul to someone who hasn't earned it, you're not being deep. You're being exposed. And exposure is vulnerability without honor. Protect your depth. Sharpen your presence. Don't explain your silence. Let it speak. She'll notice the shift, but she won't mention it. Women always notice when a man changes his energy, when he stops orbiting, when his silence stops being weakness and starts carrying weight. She'll test it, lightly at first. A message after hours of absence. A comment dipped in nostalgia. A casual, hope you're okay, as if concern is still currency. But a real test isn't what she says. It's what you do next. Most men fail here. They confuse her return with regret. They think she finally sees them, but she doesn't see you. She sees the vacuum her exit created, and she's checking to see if it still belongs to her. Do not perform. Do not explain. Do not give her the show she expects. This is the moment where men either reclaim themselves or collapse all over again. Because if your clarity was real, it doesn't need confirmation. And if your silence is rooted in self-respect, it doesn't require applause. You're not punishing her. You're not ignoring her out of spite. You're simply done outsourcing your value to a woman's attention span. This isn't about her anymore. It's about you. About the version of you that exists with or without affection, with or without her smile, with or without a hand to hold when the nights stretch long and quiet. Because in that quiet, something's been growing, slowly, steadily. Your center, your presence, your decision to no longer chase feelings that fracture your foundation. She can come back. She can flirt. She can cry. That's her right. But you no longer flinch. You no longer move. You no longer need the illusion. Because once a man meets the part of himself that survived the collapse, nothing a woman does feels like salvation anymore. It just feels like noise. There's a silence that doesn't ache. It doesn't feel lonely. It doesn't beg to be broken. It just is, heavy, grounded, immovable. That's the silence you earn when you stop confusing attention with connection. She might still linger, in your mind, in your memories. In the phantom touch, you swear you still feel some nights. But that's not her. That's just your nervous system detoxing from the addiction of being needed. Because let's be honest, it was never about love. It was about being chosen. You didn't want her. You wanted to be enough for her. You didn't crave her presence. You craved what her presence meant about you. Validation dressed as romance. Approval wrapped in perfume. And once you strip that illusion, you're left with something sharper than heartbreak. You're left with a mirror, one that shows you who you became just to be loved by someone who never truly saw you. Here's what men don't realize. Women don't destroy you. You destroy yourself trying to be someone they'd keep, trying to shapeshift into a version that won't be left. And the more you shift, the more you vanish, until there's nothing left but a man who's agreeable, available, obedient, and completely invisible. But now there's space to rebuild, not for her, not for revenge, but for sovereignty, for solitude that doesn't scream for company, for presence that fills rooms without noise. Because the most attractive thing a man can be is undisturbed. Undisturbed by beauty, undisturbed by chaos, undisturbed by the echoes of a past version of himself that used to beg to be seen. She doesn't control you anymore, not because she lost power, but because you stopped handing it to her every time you doubted your own. The world will tell you that healing looks like letting go, smiling more, moving on. But for men like you, healing doesn't look soft. It looks like sharpening. You don't forget her. You remember her clearly, not with bitterness, but with precision. Not to relive it, but to never repeat it. Because this isn't about her. It never really was. It's about the version of you that let himself be hypnotized by beauty, approval, softness. It's about the hunger you didn't name, the silence you didn't trust, the instincts you betrayed in favor of being accepted. And now, finally, you feel it. The shift. You walk slower. You speak less. You look people in the eyes and don't flinch. You don't seek attention. You command space. Not with volume, but with gravity. Not with charm, but with centeredness. Because real power doesn't speak first. It waits. It listens. It watches. And when it moves with finality. You no longer apologize for your distance. You honor it. Because now you understand that not every conversation deserves your voice. Not every woman deserves your vulnerability. And not every moment deserves your reaction. You thought love was about giving everything. Now you know. It's about never giving yourself away to someone who hasn't earned your absence first. Because love, at its highest level, isn't a feeling. It's a recognition. And if she didn't recognize who you were when you were whole, then she doesn't deserve a version of you rebuilt from wreckage. Let her go. Not because you're cold, but because she's no longer a threat. And when something stops threatening your peace, it stops holding your attention. You've moved from needing her to knowing yourself. And that changes everything. She may come back, not because she loves you, but because she can feel that you no longer need her. That shift in energy, it's magnetic, not to healthy love, but to curiosity, to chaos, to control disguised as closure. She'll say, "You've changed. You have." But not in the way she means. You're no longer soft where you should be steel. No longer explaining what should be self-evident. No longer performing strength. You are it. That look in your eye? It's not rage. It's reckoning. That silence in your presence? It's not avoidance. It's clarity. That slow, calm way you walk away? That's not indifference. That's evolution. She can feel it. And now she's unsure. Not about you, but about her ability to reach you. Because you used to react. Now you remain still. You used to need answers. Now you live inside your own. And here's the twist. She'll admire it, even crave it, but not in the way you once hoped. Not from love, from fascination. Because women don't chase comfort, they chase conviction. And you've become conviction in motion, calm, untouchable, centered. She might try again, she might not. It doesn't matter. Because now, for the first time, you're not waiting to see what she'll do. You're not measuring your value against her presence. You're not seeking closure in her voice. You've found it in your own. There is no revenge, no anger, no need to prove, only stillness. The kind that comes when a man reclaims his name in the silence where he once lost it. Final strike. She wasn't the test. Your reaction to her was. She wasn't the storm. She was just the wind that revealed the cracks in your foundation. The empty spaces you tried to fill with attention. The quiet self-betrayals you renamed love. And now you sit with all of it. Without noise, without chasing, without trying to rewrite the ending. Because the real win isn't in getting her back. It's in never going back to the man who needed someone like her to feel complete. You walk different now. Not because you're angry, but because your steps no longer seek permission. You speak different now. Not because you have something to prove, but because your voice doesn't shake when it speaks alone. And when they ask what changed, you don't explain. You don't perform. You don't preach. You just look them in the eye and say, "She thought I was soft. I was silent." Then you turn and you keep walking. Because men like you don't return to what broke you. You bury it.